You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty G. That's right. Yeah! On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Little Queensryche on a Friday, courtesy of Jay Stevens, who picks the music. Jay, how you doing?
I am doing
What's up,
well.
Jay?
I think that's my karaoke song, so I thought I was just supposed to start singing right there.
Oh, hey, take over, man. The mic is yours.
No, nobody wants that.
I can play this song on the guitar, so maybe I could play it and you sing it?
This is one of the 8 songs I can play on the guitar also. This and some Def Leppard.
I'm lying. I can't play anything on the guitar.
Maybe
you're the only one with any talent around here.
Maybe a little Stairway to Heaven, too.
That's complicated. No stairway.
I love that.
So what are you guys thinking, man? We're in the chase.
Man,
Yeah,
how
this
great
is
is
good.
this?
How big was that win against Anaheim?
It was huge, and I expected it. I expected it to be a little I thought we'd blow them out, honestly. I know they'd kind of handled this before, but I thought with our team coming together the way they're coming together, and we're playing at full strength now, I really just thought we'll handle Anaheim, and our defense will take care of because Anaheim's explosive. They score goals in bunches, just like we did against Toronto. I mean, they're a team that can come out when they smell blood, they'll put up 2 or 3 real quick, and then just ride it out the rest of the way. And I was afraid that was what was going to happen, but I thought, man, our D-core, the way our defense played against Toronto, I just thought, man, we're just going to handle the majority of the game. So I was surprised that it was close. It made it more fun that it was close. Delta Center was electric, just like it has been all year. And, man, what a good time. What a good time. Mike Voltis said the other day when he was on your show, he's like, how boring would it be to be in first place and not be worried about it? Like, this is fun. This is exciting.
Well, I mean, this is the steps that this team anticipated making because, things got away from them a little bit last year with the whole relocation and where are they going to play. And you could tell, like, emotionally it took a big toll on them because they were challenging for this kind of positioning last year. And then it kind of got away from them down the stretch. But here, this is what we kept hearing from the front office. Like, we want to be in contention for a playoff spot. That's the next step we need to take. And they've taken it. And to be playing your best hockey at this point in the season, that's a good sign for this team that's trying to make that final push.
Yeah, and everything's clicking right now. And you're right. This is the best time to peak, right? You want to go through all the adversity during the beginning of the season. And I like a team that has to kind of fight to get into the playoffs. We saw it with the LA Kings the first year they won their Stanley Cup. They did not qualify for playoffs until the last game of the regular season. They had to win to be in, and then they won the cup. From the 8th seed all the way through, and there's something about that. We've talked about it a lot this season, about when you put guys through a bunch of stuff together, and that's how the Navy SEALs build teams. That's how we do it on the fire department. We bring you in and we break you down as a person, build you up as a group, and that makes you stronger individually and stronger as a team. And I think that's what we've gone through. So, yeah, you're right, Scotty. We're peaking right when we want to be peaking, and Veggie's playing hot. And that's the other key element is you need a goaltender that can steal games and erase mistakes, and that's how you win a cup.
Jay, before we jump into the Seattle Kraken breakdown and start talking about the 3-game road trip, I wanted to get your thoughts on Connor Ingram. I saw his social media post that he put out that he had lost his mom earlier in the year and thought that maybe he had moved on but hadn't, and he is seeking a little bit of help. I don't know what the details are, and I don't know if they're important. I just want to know, is Connor Ingram okay? Is he going to be okay? Kind of give people thoughts on his current situation.
Well, for me, you're right. We don't know what's going on, and we shouldn't know what's going on. There has to be some respect of the person as a person. And, we love him as a player. And I don't know if you saw what the fans organized. And Cole and I tried to help organize this. All the fans are feeling for him, and they wrote him cards and wanted to let him know that we're supporting him. But, Hans, you and I had this talk the other day about the pressure of being a goaltender. And the pressure of being a goaltender in the NHL has to be the most pressure position of any sport. Pitchers go through whatever, quarterbacks go through whatever, but goaltenders, you've got 6 other goaltenders, 7 other goaltenders in your organization all fighting for your spot. You have 18-year-olds that are going to get drafted. You have free agents that could be picked up at any minute that are playing hot. And the minute you lose the net for whatever reason, you risk not getting it back. And to be brave enough, and because we've seen a lot of times where athletes will just do whatever it takes, and that usually leads to some kind of substance abuse or whatever. And I've had a couple really emotional episodes of my podcast where I've talked about goalies who actually became suicidal just while playing because the pressure was so much they couldn't handle it. And instead of reaching out, they found other ways to deal with it, which were never healthy, right? So the fact that he felt like he could and he did reach out is huge. And I wish more athletes would take that. And if any kid is watching this and sees this and takes this as inspiration, as, okay, it's okay to say that I'm not okay. And to have an organization like the Utah Hockey Club and SEG, who's clearly backed all of their employees from top to bottom when they've had health issues or mental health issues, they seem to just, get right behind them. And I've told this story how Ryan and Ashley Smith bought an ambulance to put in Connor Ingram's town because they didn't have one, and it took so long for responders to get to him. I mean, that's just the next level stuff. That's stuff you don't ever hear about, and it just makes you so appreciative of not only Ryan Smith as an owner, but SEG as a whole, and it just gives you a kind of a big picture of what the Utah Hockey Club is, and it's amazing, and you know that he's going to be welcomed back and given a chance to get the net back, and that's just huge.
How careful, and we just played a cut from Coach just in our last update, but how careful do you have to be with Veggie in those minutes down the stretch here? Because you need him, and you need him to play well, and you want to lean on him, but you want to be careful about how much you're using him.
You don't have to be careful at all. And I was that was one of the questions I had asked before is, all right, what are we going to do here? Do we expect to see Stauber get a game here? And I kind of looked at the games. I went through the next 17 games, and I said we need to win at least 10 of them to really be in it. We have to have other people lose some. I said, we win 80%, we're basically in. Because some of those games are against the same teams we're chasing. So Veggie wants the net. Like, he wants to be in the net every game. And most goalies do. And he's been pretty rested. I mean, they've shared the net. He's gone on an 8-game start streak here. But for the most part during the season, they've managed him pretty well. These are highly tuned professional athletes that just the hunger for that net is just it's such an insatiable thirst that we don't get it as normal human beings what it takes to be at that level. But I can tell you, just even at the level I've played, I always wanted to be in every game. And the more games I played, the better I felt. Now, the next morning, maybe I didn't take as many shots in the morning skate. And that's where an e-bug, like what I do for the Utah Grizzlies, that's where an e-bug comes in. If Veggie says in the morning that he doesn't want to skate, he won't skate, and for the morning skate or for practice. But knowing Veggie, he's going to say, hey, I want to take some shots. So he'll get dressed, he'll go out, he'll take a few shots until he's where he feels like he needs to be or work on whatever he feels like he needs to work on for his game. And then the e-bug will step in, and Veggie will go get dressed and get some physio and get feeling better and get rehab that way. So we've got 2 back-to-back games. I think he'll play so we have 2 sets of back-to-back games for the rest of the season. I would not be surprised at all to see Veggie play the next 17 games.
Huh. That'd be great. If he could do it, that'd be great because we haven't seen Stauber on the ice since the end of December, if I remember right, Jay. It's been a while. If you did have to use Stauber, how much confidence do you have in him?
100% confidence. That kid's proven that he belongs in the NHL. That was a brilliant pickup on our part. We've seen the games that he's played so far. He's been great in those games. He's been great in the AHL. He belongs in the NHL. And the fact that I'm saying that I expect to see Veggie play the 17 games isn't a knock on him. Honestly, it's 17 games. That is a lot. We'll probably see Stauber 1 or 2, but I don't know, man. We're chasing. So every game's a playoff game for us. And if, like Coach Bear said, if it was playoffs, nobody would even be asking who's starting. We'd already know if Veggie's going to play every game. This is playoffs for us. It's not a knock on Stauber at all. He's just our backup, and he's doing his role perfectly. I think he'd be a great goaltender. but I think Veggie is elite. He's proved he's elite. He's a top 10 goalie in the league. Statistically, in some categories, he's a top 5 or a top 3, depending on the category. So we're lucky to have that, and I think we're just going to use it to our advantage and play him as much as possible.
I mean, these guys are prime athletes, but Hans, your experience between the pipes, and certainly Jay, with your extensive experience playing the position, how much does that take out of you physically when you're playing 2 or 3 games a week at that position?
For me, like I said, that's what I want. That's truly what I want. I go to practice every day. I want to play every day. And maybe like in the East Coast League where you have 3 games in a row, that's why you really need a backup in the East Coast League. But in college, even in college, I did not want to share the net. And most of our games were Friday, Saturday games. And I wanted both games. And I hardly ever got both games. And, you know, it's just, there were times in college that I got to play both games and I felt great about it. And it wasn't as taxing because, you know, at that point, by the time you get here, you know your body. You know how to rehab your body. And as a hockey player growing up, you've played in these tournaments where, especially if you're one of these elite caliber goalies and you're playing on your Might team or your Bantam team, and you've played 3-4 games in a row or 3-4 games in a weekend, and because you're the guy. And you've learned how, like, what drinks work for me, what bananas, what apples, or whatever it works for you. For some guys, it's different all over the place. So every guy knows individually, or every girl at this point, we have girl professional athletes too, right? They know their bodies by this point. They know what it takes. They know what they can get out of themselves. And they also know when they have to tell the coach, like, hey, like, something on my body isn't adjusting well, and maybe, we find that third game where we put in our backup.
The more I've thought about it, and I was right next to the ice on that Toronto game watching Vejmelka in the shootout and the overtime, and the more I've thought about it, Jay, just standing there and watching these goalies, it's got to be more mental than it even is physical, because I'm watching a 3-on-3 overtime, and the difference of a 3-on-3 compared to a 5-on-5, the openings on the ice and opportunities, and then watching the mental attitude that you've got to have in a shootout situation, and watching Veggie come out from the net, how far he's coming out from the net, and trying to gauge how fast that shooter is coming at him, and going to the 5-on-5 and then dealing with penalty kill and everything that these guys deal with. It just feels like it'd be more of a mental weight than it would be a physical weight if he did finish out all 17. Would that be far off?
No, I think you're right. I mean, goaltending is extremely physical. I think you got a taste of that. And I keep sending you videos of guys and how much you actually have to move as a goaltender and how hard it is to actually be like you're in a squat for 60 minutes. Like, yeah, you stand up, but so you get the physical part, but the mental part too, it does wear down on you. But goalies are always taught, what's the Ted Lasso, be a fish, right?
Goldfish.
Yeah. You just have to know that whatever just happened is not, whether you got scored on or whether you made a big save, it doesn't matter because you've got more shots coming. And goaltenders have to just kind of reset their mind every play. And I love that saying about, the rent at this level is high and it's due every game. Well, for a goaltender, it's due every play. And that does get taxing. But goaltenders feed on that. That's the anxiety. That's why people say we're crazy. Is because goalies, you're getting hurt every shot, you feel it, and you're getting mentally beat down every shot, but somehow you thrive on that. Somehow that's what you want. You want that challenge. You want that mental challenge. I think that's why goalies are crazy, and then I think that's why they're amazing coaches.
So, Hans, the more I think about this, you got Jay Stevens here who is taking 95-mile-an-hour slap shots to the head and then takes off the pads and then goes fights fires. Like, I mean, like, it sounds like somebody could write a thesis paper on you, Jay. Holy smokes, man.
Yeah, I'm not the only one, and that's a good point. I'll have to point that out to my son. He is trying to get his PhD in clinical psychology, And maybe I'm why. But you know what? He was a goalie too. So, yeah, goalies are different. And, they've been saying it the whole time. But we also just thrive on this. We thrive on chaos. And that is why I wanted to be a firefighter. Honestly, when I knew I wasn't going to be a professional hockey player, I started looking for, camaraderie, adrenaline, and just that push where you have to stay in shape. You have to push yourself all the time. You're going to go through some stuff mentally and physically, and you have to be able to adjust to it and adapt to it. And I've been fortunate, man. I had a great hockey, you can call it a career, almost career. And I've had an amazing professional career as a firefighter, and it's all the same to me. It's that same, mainly it's the camaraderie, and then it's that just, pushing yourself. What can I do next?
Well, Jay, let's get into this Kraken team a little bit. They've won 2 of the last 3. They beat Philadelphia on the road, and they just beat Montreal at home in overtime. The only loss in those 3 games is against league-leading Washington, 4-2. But a team that's got a little bit of heat on its side right now. Just kind of take us through what Seattle does well and what Utah's going to have to do to combat it and get the win on the road to start this 3-game road trip.
Yeah, I think we're perfectly matched for Seattle. Seattle plays a similar style to what we play. They definitely have their superstars like McCann and Stevenson that you're going to expect to see. I honestly expect that we see Grubauer, who's been the backup this year to Joey Decord. So to me, I think we get the backup goaltender, which helps us. They don't see us as much of a threat, and we're not in their division, so they don't care about us as much. So I think we see their backup. I think our defense handles their offense the same way we handled Toronto. And I just expect the first 2 lines to cancel each other out, and the third and fourth line are going to be key for us. And, man, our third line right now with Krause, McBain, and Doan is, they're first-line contenders at some nights, right? You've seen them completely take over games. And our third line's going to wear them down, and that'll open up some space for Keller and Cooley. And that's what I expect to see. I expect the first 2 lines to kind of cancel each other out. Third line's going to come through big, and then we're going to throw a fourth line at them and let O'Brien and Stenlund and Carcone just hit them with speed and power and some of that physicality that our first line doesn't really participate in. And that's not a knock on the first line. We know they're a skill line, so we let our fourth line come out and do their thing, and so it comes down to that, third and fourth line, and I think that's where we win this game against Seattle.
I asked Craig Bolejak about this in terms of the Jazz. I'll ask you the same in terms of the Utah Hockey Club. Is there something about this team that has kind of surprised you this year in terms of roster, or somebody that may be ahead of schedule, or somebody who's contributing at a higher level than you expected? Is there somebody on this team or a combination of players that have maybe taken you back a bit?
Yeah, watching the development of Cooley, and you see, there's the battle back and forth with Cooley and Gunther and Keller on goals and who's going to end up being our leading scorer. And that's been a lot of fun. And seeing that, I did not expect to appreciate McBain and Carcone as much as I do now. Our defense has been phenomenal, which, in the past and even at the beginning of the season, it wasn't phenomenal. It was still good. It wasn't just where it is now. Just watching them shut down Toronto was so impressive and ahead of the game. But if you're gonna talk to me about players that have really surprised me this year, Josh Doan has really surprised me on his improvement since he's been back. I keep pumping Ian Cole's tire, just because I expected him to come in and be more of a veteran leader and maybe play 10 to 15 minutes a night and be, an on ice, an example, and then an off ice, like a locker room guy, just veteran leadership. But he's just come in. He leads the league in block shots. He just does every little thing that you could ask of any defenseman. And, he came in on a 1-year contract and just completely earned another year. Like that was a big surprise to me. I thought he was a guy coming in on his way out, and he's just proving that he belongs, and he's been so important to this team. And he's still playing 20 minutes a night, even though we got Marino and and Dursey back. So you got Sergachev, Marino, Dursey, and Cole all splitting right in that 20 to 23-minute range every game. So that's been really impressive to me. And just seeing these younger guys come through. And we just can't forget Hayton and all those things he did. And that game against Anaheim, he was so freaking tenacious and so creative. And there were so many different ways he tried to score that it's just like he's a pit bull, with a puck. And I did not know that of him. I saw him as a skill player coming out, in the World Juniors when I saw him play last. I didn't really see him play with Arizona, but he's really surprised me too. So I guess you asked me for one player, and I named about 11. So that's how the season's gone. That's how the season's gone for me. Like, I'm just surprised by everybody. I knew Keller was great. I knew Cooley was going to be great. I knew Schmaltz was going to be great. Everything else is just kind of blowing me away.
Got to get that win tonight, man. It's got to happen
tonight. Got to get that W.
Yeah, it's important for us. I mean, Calgary plays tonight too, but they're playing Colorado. So I expect Colorado to beat Calgary. I do think Calgary has one of the best up-and-coming goaltenders who will probably be the number one goaltender in the NHL in the next few years. And but he's not there yet, luckily for us. But I think Calgary loses tonight, so they stay at 71 points. I think we get a win, and we go to 71 points, and then that's a three-way tie for that final playoff spot.
You're the best, Jay. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for all your help. And, again, we learn something about the game every time you're on. That's why we love having you. Plus, you're a good dude, too. So thanks again for all you do for us.
Thanks, guys. Get better, everybody, and I'll see you in here next week.
You got
Thanks,
it.
Jay.
There he is, Jay Stevens, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm telling you, man, he's been so generous with his time and hasn't been like a soccer, geek that thumbs his nose at everybody who knows less than them. And it's just been like, if you've been listening to Jay Stevens, he's essentially given you a PhD in hockey over this last season and will continue to do so.
They're so close. I mean, they're only a few points out. And they play Vancouver coming up Sunday night. So this game tonight against the Kraken's big. The biggest game is going to be Vancouver because Vancouver right now has a 3-point lead on the Utah Hockey Club. So Utah Hockey Club's got to get that win against Vancouver Sunday night. They got to kick things off tonight against Seattle. But they're in the chase, man, and that is making it fun. Every game does feel like it's playoff worthy. So tune in, support them, get your tickets, get out to Delta when they're back, and go have some fun.
Let's get it. All right, Hans and Scotty, good, the bad, the ugly. Coming up next, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is the good, it is the bad, it is the ugly right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, Hans, before we get out to it, though, it is your chance to win some cold, hard cash. It's our KSL Sports Bracket Mayhem Challenge. So when the brackets are released on Sunday, get to KSLSports.com, make your picks, and you, if you get a perfect bracket, could win $1 million. Now, look, we get it. That ain't going to happen. None of you are getting $1 million. I would love for that to happen. I would love nothing more than to announce, hey, Hans, one of our listeners just won $1 million. But you're more likely to be struck by lightning in Antarctica on a leap day than filling out the perfect bracket. But what you can is win $1,000 because somebody is going to win $1,000 for having the best bracket. And then another listener is going to win $500 just for beating Jeremiah Jensen. So if you have a bracket that finishes higher than Jeremiah Jensen, all of you are going to be entered to win $500. So we're giving away cold, hard cash. And if you do, by chance, have that perfect bracket, we'll give you $1 million, too.
Wow. A lot of reasons to get out and fill out the bracket. Selection Sunday coming up. So Make sure you have that thing pulled up and ready to fill it out. And tell a friend. And, I would say get as many shots into this thing as you could possibly get in there because we want the action in the brackets.
All right. Time for your good, the bad, the ugly. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hans, let's start with the good, shall we?
Well, this is good for Tim Patrick and former University of Utah star receiver. He's 31 years old. I can't believe he's 31 years old,
know.
Scotty.
Yeah.
And he caught his first passes since first touchdown pass since 2021 with the Detroit Lions, and now Detroit has extended him. They re-signed him, and he's able to kind of find that role with the Lions and that amazing offense that they've got going right now. And he could continue his career. If he could stay healthy, I think Tim Patrick could have another 5 or 6 years in this league with the way he plays.
Yeah. And there's no, I mean, I guess I got to figure out the right way to say this. Injuries have really kept him sidelined over the last 2 years prior to this past season. So while he may be getting up there in age, there's not a lot of football time out on the field because of the injuries. So that might extend his playing career a little bit longer if he can stay healthy. And a lot of the injuries are, not contact related. There's been ACLs and things like that he's had to fight through. And dude, that guy is just a beast. Watching him play for the Broncos as he came up through the ranks as an undrafted guy and fought his butt off for every opportunity and made the most of it. You can't have more respect for a guy than what he's been able to do at the league.
2,500 yards and 15 touchdowns, and he's just kind of getting things started again after rehabbing and recovering with Detroit. And Detroit's going to be good. They're going to be good for a while. We'll see if he can continue to make a difference for him.
There's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
So
this is
I saw this. I saw this morning, Scotty, and I thought I'd throw this at you and just get your thoughts on this because DeMarcus Lawrence is one of the better defensive ends in the league, and I didn't realize that he's any type of loudmouth. He's been with the Dallas Cowboys for 11 years, and he's now moved on to the Seattle Seahawks. He signed a 3-year deal with $32.5 million, and he sat down with a beat writer for the Seahawks, and this is how DeMarcus Lawrence decided to handle that interview.
You spent all this time in Dallas. You also spent time in Boise. What's the difference for you beating up here? How much time are you going to be up here versus down in Texas?
Yeah, I mean, the main difference, as you can see, is it's cold.
It is cold. People don't feel that, but it's cold.
Yeah, got to keep my jacket on up
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely love the atmosphere. Change the scenery is always good, But, Dallas is my home. I made my home there. My family lives there. I'm forever going to be there. But, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah. We here.
We here.
So He says, for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl. Well, that upset Micah Parsons, who was the bookend for DeMarcus Lawrence. And Micah Parsons fires out a tweet that said, "This what rejection and envy look like. This some clown beat right there." Well, that inspired Lawrence to fire back, and he wrote, "Calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left." And that's it. These guys are done. I would imagine anybody who was a fan of DeMarcus Lawrence or Jersey, because he's a fantastic edge rusher over the years, they're probably done with him. And Micah Parsons sounds like he's done with him. And Lawrence isn't holding back on any words. I do think, Scotty, it's a bit of sour grapes because I don't think Dallas came at him the way that he probably wanted them to come at him. But he's moved on.
Let's be honest. You don't leave Dallas to go to Seattle in hopes of winning a Super Bowl because you're not going to win one either place. It's not like Seattle's getting him closer to a Super Bowl. And to your point, if Jerry Jones would have offered him the same contract, he's probably still there in Dallas. I think it's sour grapes because he didn't get the contract that he wanted from Dallas. Seattle gave it to him. He chased the money, and he's got to justify it in some way, shape, or form. And so he says, essentially, oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas, so let's go here. Yeah, okay, not so fast there, Cowboy. It's not like you went to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Have you seen what Seattle's doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of good.
No. I mean, look at your quarterback. I think that's pretty much all you got to look at right there. All right, Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Take a break, come back. The good, the bad, the ugly. And then LeVar Arrington's going to join us coming up at 2:05. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Go! It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, make sure to join the show coming up on Tuesday, March 18th. We'll be live at Sound Sleep Medical, hanging out with Melissa and the crew. We'll be there from noon to 3, Sound Sleep Medical, 8941 South, 7th East in Sandy. You can get your sleep apnea taken care of without the need of a CPAP machine. We'll tell you how coming up on Tuesday at Sound Sleep Medical. All right, Hans, time for another edition of Whole World News.
Well, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I just hope that I never make the mistake that I guess a lot of people are making in Colorado right now.
Sometimes a video goes viral.
Okay, guys, I'm at the ER because
in hopes of keeping its content from trending.
And instead of grabbing the eye drops, I grabbed the Kiss nail glue. So this is them rinsing my eye out.
This TikTok video has been shared more than 41,000 times. A cautionary tale.
This glue dries in a matter of seconds.
Dr. Richard Davidson with UC Health has seen a time or two.
Yeah, it's actually relatively common. And, it does seem to come in waves at times. It's amazing how many products look similar and we can end up with putting them in the eye by accident.
They are the exact same size. They both have the rough edges.
The similar looks are a big reason why Dr. Davidson says when someone is distracted or can't see well, they may confuse eye drops with things like eyelash glue, nail glue, even ear drops. UC Health says they have seen an increase in these kinds of cases.
We really encourage you, if you can, get to a sink, try and wash it out and try and loosen the lashes. There are times when we have to cut the lashes if they're glued together. And there are times if it's on the eye itself, we have to gently kind of scrape it or peel it off. So it's rare to cause extreme permanent damage, but it can be very uncomfortable for the first couple of days.
Dr. Davidson suggests people read the labels out loud before use and store the bottles in different places.
Okay.
Find any way to keep from joining this unfortunate trend with unpopular results.
Oh, yeah, don't put glue in your eye.
Oh. Okay.
Things that women deal with that men probably aren't going to be dealing with, which is having nail glue right next to your eye drops or having any type of glue next to your eye drops or using eye drops in general. I don't ever use – do you use eye drops, Scotty?
I'm supposed to, but I don't do a good job of doing that. I had the LASIK but it was a long time ago. But every time I go to the eye doctor for the yearly checkup, they're like, your eyes are dry, man. You got to put eye drops in, and I'll be good for a week or two, and then I just don't do it. So I'm supposed to, but I'm not very good at it.
Could you imagine accidentally dropping a couple of spots of super glue into your eye?
Oh, man. And, those pens and stuff that I work on the lathe, I use a lot of super glue on that stuff. And I can't imagine, because I get that stuff on my fingertips, and, man, it's stuck there forever. I can't imagine dropping one of those on your eyelid or eyeballs, for crying out loud. That's ridiculous.
Well, obviously nobody could see the video, but it shows her getting her eyeball cleaned, and they actually attached this surface thing onto the eye. Almost like that LASIK surgery, how it kind of cups onto the eye and it attaches to the eye and I guess flushes the eye out to get all of that hard glue off of the eyeball. But, hey, if this is something that you might accidentally do, there's your warning. Don't say that Scotty and I didn't give you a warning.
Yes. All right, so here's your PSA for the day. Don't put super glue on your eyeballs. Just don't.
Or next to your eye drops.
Yeah, just maybe keep one in one part of the house and then the other in the other part. And don't mix the two because that's going to be a bad deal. Jeez, man. That's awful. That is rough. All right, Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. LeVar Arrington, NFL great, will join us coming up in our next segment. We'll chat some NFL with him, free agency, NFL draft as well, and get his thoughts on where the league is headed. We'll also get back to the college basketball scene as well. Remember, Ken Pomeroy will join us, Hans, for his yearly visit. If you need help with your bracket, make sure to tune in to our show coming up on Wednesday next week, 1 to 3. It's the annual Ken Pomeroy Bracket Special, as Ken will break down every region. The Ken Pomeroy Bracket Special brought to you by our good friends at Teton Wealth. All right, Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.